If you need a pencil, it's over here. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're still in geometry. We are in still a strange unit on logic. We learned about statements already, okay? Statements, the ands, the ors, the p's, the q's. What do we got? Okay, come on, one more second. Hit this, cross your fingers. We're in business. So, we're going to talk about conditional statements, okay? A conditional statement is, instead of just two random things like we're in geometry class right now, there's 7 days in a week, where they're just totally separate and disjointed, we're now going to talk about things that are related to each other, okay? Conditional statements is a statement that can be written in if-then form, okay? Really simply, conditional statements, if-then form, is just cause and effect, all right? It's just what starts it and what happens after that, okay? Symbolically, it's pretty easy. You just draw an arrow, okay? This just means P causes Q, okay? Now, the word that we're going to say is a little bit different is the word implies. That P implies Q. But again, all this math jargon, don't sweat it. It's just cause and effect. Okay?
What did I say? P is what?
It says the word implies. I-M-P-L-I-E-S. That's just P arrow Q. It's kind of weird to write a Q. I don't know. Sometimes I change up my Q's all of a sudden. Right now I'm in this weird kind of hooky thing. So that's a Q. So we've got two phrases. The one that immediately follows if is called a word you've heard from science, the hypothesis. The hypothesis is kind of your first initial idea when you're starting to go through that scientific method. The one that comes at the end, the one that immediately follows the word then, is called the conclusion. Again, it's kind of like a start and an end, a cause and effect. Don't overthink it. Once we do a question here, this is going to be very straightforward, all right? Example number 1, it says, if you live in Nashville, then you live in Tennessee, right? Nashville is a city inside Tennessee. We're starting off with the hypothesis of if you live in Nashville. It says right here, the hypothesis is the phrase that immediately follows if, right? And again, that's the same as science. Your hypothesis might be, if I study for 2 hours, then my grade will improve. Same thing here. If you live in Nashville, what's the conclusion going to be? You live in Tennessee. You live in Tennessee. And again, I really don't see how we're going to have much problem with a question like number 2. What's the hypothesis? The one that comes right after if, which is the sum of the measures of 2 angles is 90. My handwriting is just suffering on a Monday, so I apologize. The sum of the measures of 2 angles is 90. I need to pick my handwriting up. I'll do a little better. What's the conclusion? They are complementary angles. They are. Again, it probably hardly feels like math, okay? It's really just breaking down sentences and ifs and thens. Number 3, thankfully, we got a little bit less to work with here, okay? If a quadrilateral is a square, then it has 4 right angles. Well, the hypothesis, if, we got it now. Quadrilateral is a square, then, that's our conclusion, it has 4 right angles. Okay, good enough. Okay? Before we move on, and as you are finishing writing, do you see how these statements are not just 2 random, unadjoined statements? These actually are relating to each other. Okay? If you live in Nashville, which is a city in Tennessee, then you're gonna live in Tennessee. Okay? A lot of times, students think about it like it's like a zoom in and a zoom out. All right? It's like when you zoom in to Nashville, okay, then you zoom out and then you're in Tennessee. Okay? If you zoom in and you're talking about a quadrilateral that's a square, you zoom out and you're like, oh, it's got 4 right angles. Okay? It's kind of like cause and effect, one that comes after the other. I don't think that there's too much to it. Okay? Where you might have a little bit of difficulty is with the bottom part, which says write each statement in if-then form. So, if you want to think about it like this, we're going to need to set up our sentence so that there's an if, then a little piece, and then a then, and then a piece at the end. Okay? It's not always super straightforward where you just cut the sentence in half. Okay, so let's read number 4. Kazoon time. An obtuse angle has a measure greater than 90 degrees. Any ideas how we can break this down? Anybody want to go for it? Is that a hand? What do you got?
If an angle is obtuse, then it has a measure greater than 90.
Love it. If an angle is obtuse, so that's our starting statement. That is our cause. Then what's going to happen? Then we know it has a measure greater than 90 degrees. Also, not rocket science, but it does take a little bit of thinking. Okay? All number divisibles by 4 are also divisible by 2. So, if a number is divisible by 4, then it is divisible by 2. Sure. All right, I'm going to end the video here. We might do these last 3 questions in class. Stay tuned. Then back of this paper, the next video is where it's going to get a little more difficult.